this is last week, right? So it was the night after Christmas is the Raw that was defeated in the ratings, and that was Dallas and Detroit was on Monday Night Football.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So I think that was one. Two, I would say, was Cena returned to SmackDown on Tuesday. So I think that brought a lot of people in. And then three is they had built it around 3 title matches that were booked on the show in advance.
Right.
Of the actual night of the show.
Right.
So they had advertised a WWE title match, which went from Styles Ziggler to Styles Ziggler Corbin. They had Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch, and then it was
the gauntlet match
for the tag titles.
Now, SmackDown's ratings have slowly but surely been increasing, right?
I think for the most part.
Yeah, and Raw's ratings have been slipping, going back. So what Raw now has to do next week on Raw, they've got Shawn Michaels and they've got The Undertaker coming back, right?
Right.
The week before Survivor Series, The Undertaker was on SmackDown saying what SmackDown was his show. He is 100% true blue SmackDown, yada yada yada. It's this week they had Goldberg. Next week it's going to be Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. They don't have anything that people want to watch that's gonna draw people in that isn't from 20 to 25 years ago. The Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, those 4 guys, it's over, it's done with. There's 10 segments on each of them every single Raw. There was a thing I sent you the other day that either Kevin Owens or Chris Jericho has wrestled Seth Rollins in some capacity in every single Monday Night Raw since SummerSlam, but 2. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect people to want to watch. The reason why people were excited to see AJ Styles defend his title is because AJ Styles isn't wrestling every single week. And he's wrestling new guys. He's wrestling different guys. You know, he did have a long program with Dean Ambrose, but what happened when Dean Ambrose lost? He got out of the picture. He didn't get out of the main event picture, but he got out of the title picture. So now you have new people for AJ Styles to feud with and to have matches from. How many times can you? I like Kevin Owens. I'm one of the biggest Kevin Owens fans out of anybody. But over the last year, I mean, you can't tell me 5 great matches he's had. Because he hasn't had the ability to, because you see the same thing over and over and over again. How many times can you watch Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens? It's the same thing. And those two, for some reason, as great as they are individually, they don't have great chemistry together. Their matches are okay. But you need something else. And you need, just because, show us how good Kevin Owens is, your Universal Champion, by having him wrestle, give him 10 to 15 minutes with Cesaro and have him win a close match with Cesaro, or have him look dominant against X, Y, and Z. But on Raw now, they have to bring back these guys like Taker, like Shawn Michaels. It's not special anymore, period. It isn't. But they have to rely on these names to get the ratings back, and I think that's a big problem because SmackDown is building their viewership base because of the shows they have and the quality of shows. I don't think there's any professional wrestling fan that'll tell you right now that Raw is a more watchable show than SmackDown, because it's not. I fast forward through so much shit on Monday Night Raw. I even pass matches because you have a 2-minute and 50-second cruiserweight match that doesn't even start. You have a minute and 40 seconds of Drew Gulak rolling up Cedric Alexander week after week after week after week. It's just SmackDown is putting the focus on the in-ring talent, and Monday Night Raw is to an extent, but it's repetitive, and you could watch the Raw after a pay-per-view and then 3 weeks later watch Monday Night Raw again and miss nothing. And I think that's a problem.
I mean, I think also the 3 hours is a problem too. I mean, that doesn't help.
But you have the talent for 3 hours. If you were to tell me 5 years ago, you probably started watching Ring of Honor wrestling more religiously and more frequently than Brian and I did. Probably, I would say about 4 years ago. And if I was to tell you 4 years ago that you had Kevin Steen, El Generico, Tyler Black, Claudio Castagnoli, and all these guys on the Raw roster, and then you bring on the cruiserweights, and you're telling me you couldn't get a watchable show every Monday night, you would probably say, Yeah, I mean that's what I would expect from WWE because they really don't know like how to do it, and that's what's happening. So I mean, you have the talent there. Plus, you have an entire cruiserweight division, and they're getting a minute and a half. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, they're not they're not doing a good job on Raw of featuring the right guys enough and presenting them in the right way to make them more interesting and make the angles and matches come off better. Like they're just not, right? I mean, we talked at length in the past about the whole Rollins thing, right? Like Rollins came back from that injury, from his knee injury. He was a heel when he left. He was the champion when he left. He never lost the title. He comes back. They did this whole like network special on him and his comeback, which basically presented him as like a huge baby face.
You wanted to cheer for him. Yeah, you're right.
And they programmed him with Reigns as soon as he got back, who was, even though he was supposed to be a baby face, he gets booed all the time, mercilessly. And instead of letting Rollins kind of play into that and then maybe slowly turn into a baby face, where when like fans were like really behind him, they forced him to be a heel for the next couple of months. And then when they finally did turn him in like a kind of a cheesy way, now he's not over anymore.
It was like that soft turn where like you didn't even know if he was a heel or face, you know. Yeah.
Right. I mean the whole thing behind his character, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with this, but like he got turned on by Triple H, right? So he was more than willing to take the help of the Authority in that 4-way for the Universal title when Triple H pedigreed Reigns and he allowed Rollins to pin Reigns. He was cool with that, but then when Triple H turned on him and he lost, then he kind of became like, oh, well, now I want to get revenge on you for that. But like he was more than willing to be a heel or whatever, like to take whatever help he could get up to that point. So like it wasn't like he turned and he was like, no, I don't want your help. I'm going to win this on my own. And then Triple H turned on him. He just lost because Triple H decided, and we haven't got any explanation for that either. So it's like, why would I cheer for this guy? Like he was obviously like
he's still the same person he was, but somebody who's a bigger dick than him turned on. Like,
right? Yeah, exactly. So it's like that's the type of thing where they had an opportunity with him, they didn't take it. Then they went a different direction, and they haven't followed up on it well enough. And now he's kind of like, he lost all those matches to Owens, right? Because they wouldn't put the title back on him, so he kind of lost with interference, and it's just it's been bad. So that's one, and like you said, the combination of the same 4 guys over and over, and the most over of those 4 guys is probably Jericho.
Yeah,
who's
is bad. Almost 50, and he's over because he goes, you just made he's not over because he can wrestle. He's over because he puts people on the list. But credit to Jericho. He got himself over, right. Actually, and who wrote that? Jimmy Jacobs.
Yeah,
but Jimmy Jacobs came up with the whole list idea. But it's up to Jericho. His timing is great. He's very funny. He's very comedic. But so he did that because he was able to do so. I mean, Kevin Owens, I think he's beyond stale right now.
Yeah,
there's no heat behind him.
Yeah, I think most of those guys are stale, right? I think he's stale. I think. Reigns is what he is. Like that's not changed at all in the last 2 years. Rollins, we just kind of went over. I mean, and Jericho is the most entertaining, but again, his thing with Owens has been going for a while, and I think hopefully we're at a point where they're going to start doing the split with them because it's kind of, I think it's starting to run its course a little bit in terms of what they're doing as a tandem. So, but yeah, those guys got to either freshen them up or they got to start mixing the other guys into the main event mix. And the only guy that right now looks like he's getting a crack at that is Braun Strowman.
And to what you said about Jericho, he is the most over, but I would say as far as in-ring capabilities, he's probably the most limited right now. Because the guy's almost 50, he tells a good story in the ring, but he's not as fast-paced as the other guys. Mm-hmm. But you want to cheer for him because of how he can get behind you on the mic. As far as Braun Strowman is, I'm worried they're almost done overexposing him. How many segments was he on Monday Night Raw? He had the great match with Sammy. That was awesome. But then you have a backstage segment with him, and then you have him in the main event segment. The match with Sammy was 15, 16 minutes.
Yep.
You need to. Hulk Hogan didn't wrestle every single week, 20 years ago. You very rarely saw these guys, and if you're going to give them 18 minutes, we have enough Braun Strowman. Don't shove it down our face to the point where he's going to be the next Big Show because he's in every single segment. It's just. There's just so much potential on Monday Night Raw, and it's what do they call that? It's swirling around the bowl. Is that what's happening?
Circling the drain.
Circling the old pooper. Man, I feel like I'm off my soapbox now. I feel like we had a good show. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that's probably a good start for this week. We got some other stuff we could talk about next week. I think
I want to talk about 205 Live.
Does that mean I'm gonna have to watch 205 Live because I don't?
Dude, that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. You don't even want to watch 205 Live. The Cruiserweight Classic was awesome, right?
It was.
Yeah. And you
know what we could talk about next week? A couple of... Obviously, we'll go through some of the normal stuff with, the Raws and the Smackdowns of the world. But TNA had some news going on this week, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit next week as we find out more. They're doing some tapings. And then that UK Championship is happening next weekend, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that next week before it happens.
Andrews was in that?
I just found that out today, actually. Mark Andrews was under TNA contract, and that ended in 2016. So they threw him into the tournament, which I don't even know how many guys are in this tournament or who all the participants are. I kind of looked it up the other day, and I don't know, maybe it wasn't an even number. I don't know. I have to really kind of go back and figure that all out, but... so those are some things next week. I guess we can kind of touch on.
You teasing? Huh? You dropping a teaser line?
Well, hopefully I remember. Well, hopefully we remember that next week.
Yeah, actually, let's go back and listen to this. Our Facebook, our Twitter at All Night Long WP, our Instagram at All Night Long WP, which I haven't taken any pictures or anything, so I'm sorry about that. We got Royal Rumble coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post the Kenny Omega versus Okada match so you can judge for yourself, see if it really was a 6-star. How soon until the Young Bucks come up with the 6-star finisher? I'm telling you, like the 6-star splash is coming. That's about it. You guys like us, share us. You know what would really be good is if you guys went to the podcast app or iTunes, you gave us a little like. You don't even have to give us 5 stars. 6. Just kidding. I'll accept 3.5 stars. I'm shooting for the bottom. You can give us a like on there. You can give us a share maybe, or just write a review. So you know what? They don't suck as bad as I thought they would. That's fine. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Shooting the bar very low in 2017, but we appreciate you guys and listening to us and watching us. I'm not much to look at. I don't know why you'd watch us, but for this handsome guy, the stallion right next to me, I'm the enforcer for the first show of 2017. We're tapping out.